When we enter the mysterious territory of spiritual awakening, life begins to speak to us in symbols. Nature, once silent background, becomes alive with meaning. Animals, those ancient companions of humanity, are not random visitors. They emerge as living archetypes, mirrors of the unconscious and messengers of the soul. To ignore them is to turn away from the language of the deeper self. Let us look at 5 animals that often appear when the inner journey begins. 1. The serpent. The serpent is one of the oldest symbols in human history. To the unweakened, it may evoke fear, for it represents what is hidden, primal, and transformative. Yet during a spiritual awakening, its appearance signals rebirth. The serpent sheds its skin, teaching us that growth requires the death of old identities. It coils in the depths of our psyche, reminding us that the power of transformation is both terrifying and divine. When the serpent enters your dreams or crosses your path, it is the unconscious telling you, shed what no longer serves you. 2. The owl. The owl glides silently through the night, its eyes piercing the darkness. It arrives when one begins to see beyond appearances. The owl represents hidden wisdom, the ability to perceive the truth behind masks and illusions. Its haunting call echoes like a reminder that awakening is not about comfort, but about confronting the shadows we have long avoided. To meet the owl is to be invited into deeper clarity, where intuition replaces blindness. 3. The wolf. The wolf appears when the soul begins to wrestle with belonging and independence. It embodies the paradox of the pack and the lone wanderer. The wolf howls to the moon, seeking connection to something greater, while also reminding us of the strength found in solitude. During awakening, the wolf comes to teach us about boundaries, instinct, and the courage to walk the untamed path. If you feel the presence of the wolf, listen carefully. It is urging you to trust your inner wildness. 4. The butterfly. The butterfly is perhaps the most delicate messenger of transformation. Emerging from the cocoon, it embodies the agony and beauty of metamorphosis. Its wings, fragile yet radiant, remind us that true awakening is a passage through darkness into light. The butterfly whispers of hope, that even after periods of confusion and dissolution, the soul can rise in new colors. When it appears, it signals that you are crossing from one state of being to another, and that patience in the cocoon is essential for flight. 5. The crow. Dark, enigmatic, and often misunderstood, the crow is a messenger between worlds. It comes to those who are learning to see synchronicity, the mysterious patterns of the universe. The crow stands at the threshold between life and death, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious. Its caw is unsettling because it demands attention. To encounter the crow is to be reminded that awakening is not a simple ascent into light, but a dance with mystery, paradox, and the unknown. These animals are not mere coincidences. They are archetypal forces, emerging from the collective depths to guide your transformation. To ignore them is to silence a sacred dialogue between the soul and the world. They appear as teachers, guardians, and mirrors, each whispering truths you already carry within you. When a person steps into the process of spiritual awakening, the world around them begins to transform in ways that the rational mind struggles to explain. What once seemed like coincidence starts to carry weight and depth, as though reality itself has a hidden voice. Animals, in particular, emerge as powerful archetypal messengers in these moments, carrying meanings that go beyond their physical presence. They appear in dreams, visions, synchronicities, or even in ordinary encounters, yet their timing is rarely ordinary. Each one carries a symbolic resonance that stirs the unconscious, guiding the individual toward deeper understanding of their inner journey. The reason animals appear during awakening is tied to their ancient place in human memory. Long before language and philosophy, humanity observed the creatures of the natural world and ascribed to them meanings, myths, and powers. These impressions settled deep within the collective psyche. When the soul begins to awaken, it reaches into this reservoir and calls forth these images as symbols of transformation. Thus, the presence of an animal is not just a biological encounter, but an inner reminder of the truths that live within us all. Take, for example, the sudden appearance of a serpent in one's dream or the real world. To some, it may only seem like an accident of nature, but to the awakening soul, the serpent becomes a teacher of death and renewal. Its shedding skin mirrors the necessary release of outdated beliefs, fears, or attachments. The unconscious speaks through this creature, signaling that it is time for the old self to dissolve so that the new self can emerge. The message is not delivered through words but through imagery, so primal that it bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the heart. Similarly, when a person in awakening encounters an owl, the symbolism pierces deeply. The owl has always represented wisdom hidden in the darkness, vision that can see what the day blinds us from. Its sudden presence in life suggests that the seeker is ready to perceive deeper truths, to move beyond the surface and confront the shadow. It is an animal that arrives when one's intuition is ripening, when the unseen dimensions of life are calling to be acknowledged. The owl's quiet presence stirs the unconscious recognition that the truth is never obvious, and yet it is always present for those who dare to look. The wolf, too, carries an ancient archetype, one of wildness, loyalty, and independence. When it emerges during awakening, it often signals that the individual is learning to balance their need for community with their need for solitude. The wolf archetype comes alive in the psyche, reminding the person to trust their instincts and embrace the untamed path that awakening demands. It is not merely about survival, but about finding strength in authenticity. Every animal that appears in this journey holds such meaning. Their presence is a reminder that awakening is not a solitary act of the mind, but a dialogue with the living world, a conversation between the conscious and the unconscious, and a recognition that nature itself speaks in symbols when the soul is ready to listen. Each animal that emerges during spiritual awakening does not arrive as a random visitor, but as a living embodiment of a stage within the inner journey. Their symbolism is not superficial decoration, but a mirror of what is unfolding in the depths of the psyche. The serpent, the owl, the wolf, the butterfly, and the crow are not just animals, they are archetypes, each carrying the weight of timeless meaning. Their arrival signals progress through the various layers of awakening, from confronting shadows to embodying wisdom, from shedding the past to embracing rebirth, from instinctual alignment to standing in the presence of mystery. The serpent belongs to the first stage, where the awakening soul confronts the shadow. It teaches that transformation cannot occur without death, without the painful but necessary release of old patterns. Its coiled form embodies energy waiting to be awakened, power that is latent but inevitable. This stage is not easy, as it demands courage to face what has been repressed or denied. The serpent whispers of renewal, but only through surrender to the cycles of destruction and creation. The owl, arriving after this, is the guide into wisdom. Once the shadows have been touched, the individual must learn to see differently. The owl's eyes are capable of piercing darkness, and this symbolizes the deepened perception that begins to emerge. Here, awakening is about discerning truth from illusion, recognizing patterns that once remained invisible. The stage of the owl is about inner sight, a kind of vision that transcends logic and arises through intuition, insight, and the ability to embrace paradox. It teaches that wisdom is not found in avoiding the dark, but in perceiving clearly within it. The wolf represents the stage of instinct and identity. At this point, the seeker wrestles with belonging and the tension between community and solitude. The wolf howls to the moon, embodying a yearning for something greater, yet its strength also lies in independence. This stage requires the seeker to align with their true instincts, to recognize the call of their own wild nature, and to accept that awakening demands both connection and separation. It is a test of courage, teaching one to trust their inner compass even when the path feels uncertain. The butterfly, delicate yet powerful, marks the stage of rebirth. After shadow, wisdom, and instinct, there comes a transformation so profound that it feels like death giving way to new life. The cocoon becomes a symbol of confinement, struggle, and patience, while the wings represent emergence, beauty, and freedom. This stage signals that awakening is not a linear process, but one that requires endurance through darkness before the light of a new self can unfold. The butterfly teaches that change is not only possible but inevitable. The crow stands as the messenger of mystery, guiding the final stage of this cycle. It symbolizes the crossing of thresholds, the recognition of synchronicity, and the acceptance that awakening is not about final answers, but about living within the paradox of existence. Its dark feathers and sharp cry remind the soul that transformation is not complete when everything is explained, but when one learns to live in harmony with the unknown. To ignore the animals that appear during awakening is to close the door to one of the deepest dialogues between the soul and the universe. These encounters are not accidents. They are symbolic communications meant to awaken recognition within the individual. The serpent, the owl, the wolf, the butterfly, and the crow are not mere creatures wandering into awareness. They are messages that emerge from the collective depths of the unconscious, and through them the universe speaks. Each sighting, each dream, each symbolic appearance is a reflection of the inner state of the seeker and an invitation to grow into a fuller awareness of the self. The serpent that slithers across the path is not just a reptile but a manifestation of transformation, pressing itself into consciousness. To ignore it is to miss the message of renewal, the call to shed what is old and allow space for the new self to emerge. The serpent embodies the ancient cycle of death and rebirth, and when dismissed as coincidence, one denies themselves the chance to align with that deeper rhythm of change. The soul presents the serpent so that the conscious mind may recognize the inevitability of letting go. The owl's sudden presence is equally profound. Its large eyes see what others cannot, and its silent flight reveals that awakening requires penetrating the veil of illusion. When the owl enters dreams or real encounters, it points toward hidden wisdom and the courage to face truths concealed in darkness. To disregard this is to cling to blindness, to resist the invitation to expand perception and embrace intuition. The owl's symbolism is a reminder that awakening demands clarity and honesty, not avoidance. The wolf, appearing in visions or through repeated symbols, speaks to the primal aspects of the soul. It teaches balance between community and solitude, between instinct and rationality. Ignoring its call risks losing touch with the wild, authentic voice within. The wolf does not appear to entertain, it appears to challenge. Its howl resonates with the deeper longing of the soul, urging the seeker to trust their instincts and remain faithful to their unique path. To dismiss it is to neglect the courage necessary for spiritual independence. The butterfly, fragile yet transformative, is another archetype too easy to overlook. Its presence signals that metamorphosis is already underway, that the darkness of the cocoon is not the end but a stage in becoming. To ignore the butterfly is to fail to recognize the subtle but powerful changes already shaping the soul's evolution. Its wings whisper of freedom and renewal, and its delicate flight teaches that awakening is not without beauty, even if born of struggle. The crow, dark and mysterious, is perhaps the most easily misunderstood, yet it is the crow that carries the weight of synchronicity, mystery, and thresholds between worlds. To turn away from its presence is to deny the awareness of deeper patterns that connect all things. The crow's voice calls attention to the unseen fabric of existence, reminding the seeker that awakening is not about certainty, but about recognizing the profound intelligence woven into the unknown.